Welcome to the show. Have a great one planned for you today. This is our college football preview, and we're going to start right off with my guest. I'm so excited to have him on the show. Been looking forward to it. Two-time Heisman Trophy finalist, member of the College Football Hall of Fame, inducted in 2009, quarterback of the 1988 WVU team that played for the national championship. It's hard to believe that it's been 30 years this fall, but my guest today, who captured the imagination of the entire state of West Virginia 30 years ago, Major Harris. Major, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for inviting me.
Good to have you here. And, it is hard to believe it's been 30 years. Does it seem that way to you?
Yeah. You know, it's crazy when people say that. I start thinking when I go to a game, these guys wasn't even born yet when I was playing.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. And you had a big birthday earlier this year, turned 50.
No.
Hard for me to believe. I was in junior high at the time of that season and went to, I think, just about every home game that year. And, a lot of good memories for people around the state from that season. And one that sticks out the most with people is the big run against Penn State. Penn State had been kind of a thorn in the side of the Mountaineers over the years, and that's when Penn State was kind of in its heyday. They were their biggest, coming off of playing for national championships, Joe Paterno, and the height of his success. And what was it like playing teams like that and having experiences in games like that?
The wild thing is when I go back thinking about in high school, watching because you're being recruited. And then, you always hear about the legend stories of, Coach Paterno, even, Coach Nealon, and then actually play for Coach Nealon and play against Coach Paterno. It's like, man, you kind of be fascinated about it.
What was it like playing for Coach Nealon? I mean, he's been retired now for a number of years, but, really still loved by a lot of people around West Virginia. What was he like as a coach?
Well, I think coming out of high school, I really wasn't prepared mentally, to be a starting quarterback in college. So when I look back on it, I really, as far as I grew as a quarterback from just under his tutelage, because like I said, in high school, I looked at being a quarterback just going out there making plays. But now when you get in a system where it's more organized, you got to do things. So now you can kind of be smart about making plays. So I thought I became a more heads-up player under his leadership.
Talking about the type of player you were in making plays, today we see the dual threat quarterbacks and the spread offenses, 4 receivers, and running all kinds of things that really people didn't even think about necessarily back then. But you were kind of the first big name dual threat quarterback that could run it, throw it, and big option attack, but kind of set the stage for what was to come in the years ahead with respect to dual threat quarterbacks.
At the time I never looked at it like that. I was just out there having fun playing.
What do you think about the spread offenses of today and how you would like that compared to what you did?
Well, I like it, but I like the offense we was in. I think it's more fancy football now with the spread. I kind of like what Alabama do. Real hard-nosed football. What we gonna do here? Stop us. And I think I'm probably more old-fashioned, but I like it. It's exciting from a standpoint. You're gonna get a lot of points scored. But I'm really more like old school.
We were talking a little bit before we came on the air about the option attack and how you just don't see that from many teams now. And that was one of the things that led to a lot of your success was being able to run the option. You just don't see that play a lot anymore in college football. You see now a lot more of zone reads and things like that from the quarterback, but you don't see just the traditional option unless you look at just a couple of schools around the country.
Yeah, and the one thing about the option that I really liked about it, because you can almost predict what type of defense you're going to get, because if they load up one side, you can call audible, run the option to the opposite side. So they had to play you more honest. You know what I mean? So that's the one thing that I really liked about the option offense, because you can almost predict what the defense is going to give you because you run the option.
One of the things that I remember about that attack, that option attack, is not only could you run it, could you pitch it to the running back, but also, you pulling the ball, coming down the line, looking like option, then dropping back and throwing it deep to Reggie Rembert or someone else. A lot of weapons you had on that team and gave you a lot of opportunities to showcase your abilities.
Well, yeah, that one play in particular would come down the line and drop back. That free safety, he got to respect coming down the line to help out with the tackle, and then you drop back and you got a guy running the post in behind him. That was a big play for us. So then the defense would say, well, sit back there. Now it's one less guy you got to worry about on the option. So that's just part of it that, in a sense, you can predict what the defense going to give you.
What's, looking at the quarterbacks today, you know, whether it be college, NFL, I know you still follow the game extremely closely, and you've even coached in the years following your playing days. But you know, you want to take your model quarterback now. I mean, what would he be able to do?
Well, I think everything. You know what I mean? I think that if you can, I'm surprised you don't see as much now quarterbacks rolling out. You know, either it seemed like they either dropping back or, you know what I mean, with the spread or faking it. But you back in the day, that was big. Have a quarterback just roll to the right, roll to the left, buying a little bit more time and stuff like that. I would think I would probably have a quarterback rolling out a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm with you. You know, I grew up in the same era as you. I'm a little younger than you, but that was when I played quarterback. I loved the rollout because it allowed me to get the defense moving a little bit, let me find a guy. I enjoyed that, and I wasn't, you know, the most mobile guy in the world, but I enjoyed being on the move a little bit and throwing it.
Yeah, I mean, you can see things better by just dropping straight back. Now you got the whole field to look at, but when you roll, you know what I mean, it kind of make it a little bit easier on you.
We need to take a break. When I come back, we'll continue talking with Major Harris. We'll talk a little bit about some of the accolades he received while playing and the years after. Stay with us here on the Jamie Bordas Show.
When reviewing your oil and gas offers or royalty check statements, do you wonder, am I being offered a fair amount? Do I feel comfortable reading the statement? Do I have peace of mind? If you answered no to these questions, you need Bordas Mineral Management. Our passion is helping mineral owners protect and expand their mineral wealth. Our examiners tell you whether you're being treated fairly and getting paid what is rightfully yours. Bordas Mineral Management. Be protected. Have peace of mind.
Recommended by the highest authorities. Danoon Lumber.
Looks like a bad one's coming. Yeah. Right?
Welcome back to the show. I've been speaking with my guest this week, Major Harris. Been 30 years since quarterbacking the team to that undefeated season in 1988, and a lot of people remember that national championship game against Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl out in Arizona. And of course, you got hurt on the third play of the game, hurt your shoulder, and you're even showing me you have a little mark there still from that on your shoulder. But a lot of rumors over the years as to did he really get hurt during the game? Did he get hurt the night before? That type of thing. I'm going to ask you straight up here on the show. You know, did you get hurt? You know, before, or was it during the game?
It happened during the game. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, what happened during the game?
Well, it was one of those, you know, I look back at it, being that when the season ended in the bowl game, it's like a month. So as a quarterback, you ain't getting hit for a month. So the first time that I was kind of exposed to getting hit, I just felt I wasn't prepared enough to take the shot, and that's what happened.
Coach Nealon wanted to get you the ball, you know, in your hands early in the game to get you into the flow, and it really disrupted it once you suffered that injury. I mean, it makes it tough when your quarterback is playing hurt throughout the game, and obviously bad timing to be the national championship game. But what was the experience like in playing for the national championship, the hype leading up to it, all that?
Well, you know, when I look back at it, I can see it from the outside view better now. But when you playing, it's like you're like in a box. You really can't see it the way you can see it once you get past it and look back. But I remember when we played, you know, we was kind of, when we went out there that week, we was kind of sheltered, you know what I mean? Kind of kept away from everybody, practicing and stuff like that. And you really couldn't get a grasp on, like, man, it's the national championship, the way I can look at it now. And I mean, we was pumped up about it because we knew going into the season we had a good team. We just had to go out there and get the job done. And then to get to that point to play for the national championship, I mean, it's like, man, I mean, you can't ask for nothing more from a college football player standpoint.
You know, some of the other experiences that you had, you know, twice invited to New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation, finishing 5th in 1988, 3rd in 1989. People may not realize, I mean, it's something to get invited just one time to that presentation, but to finish in the top 5 of the Heisman Trophy voting, you know, 2 years in a row, you know, what was that like for you, and going to New York and being surrounded by all the former Heisman winners and all of that?
is wild because, like I said, now I'm older and I look back and be like, man, I'm up at the Heisman with some of the greats that played in NFL, Troy Aikman, Barry Sanders. And, it's really hard to appreciate it when you're going through it because, it's just like how time is passing by, so to speak. But when I look back on it, man, that is kind of a big accomplishment, as I'm older and look back on it and think about it.
In talking about those types of players, you had another big moment, years after you got done with your playing career in college when you were inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2009, and to be considered among the great and in the Hall of Fame, another big accomplishment. What was that like? I mean, you shared the stage that day with some pretty well-known names as well.
Yeah, I felt it was icing on the cake for my career. When I look back at my career, everything I felt that I tried to accomplish, I always fell short. National championship, up for the Heisman, you know what I mean? But really the national championship. So just to get rewarded with something like that as far as being named College Football Hall of Fame, that was icing on the cake because, when you look at it, it only can be one national championship unless they co-champions. So 9 times out of 10, most of the people that's probably inducted into college football probably never won national championships. So to be rewarded with something like that is definitely icing on the cake for your career.
The university is having somewhat of a celebration next week for the home opener. The Mountaineers are playing Youngstown State in Morgantown and going to honor the 1988 team for the 30-year anniversary. And you're going to make it back down for that celebration?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We've been talking on the phone. Everybody's trying to come back, because as you get older, 30 years ago, when you think about it, they probably like every such and such years probably have a reunion for it. So this is definitely going to be a big one.
What's it like being back on campus? I mean, you see, maybe a guy here and there that you played with, but what's it like being back? Does it bring back memories, being in the stadium, things of that nature?
The one thing that come to mind with me when I think about it, and when you come back, now guys coming back with their kids, and their kids wasn't even born when we played, you know what I mean? So now it's like guys is granddads now, So it's an adjustment period that, a lot of guys go through because last time I saw them, we probably was in class together. Now I see them again, a little gray and, got kids. And so it's a little different, but, I love seeing the guys that, like I said, I didn't see in years.
As I mentioned earlier, after your playing days, you spent some time coaching, even coaching here in Wheeling for the Steel Valley Smash and some arena ball, things of that nature. But what was it like, the difference between being a player and then coaching and being on the other side of it?
The funny thing is, it's like you in the locker room and now you ain't gonna get hit. You know what I mean? So it really takes on a different type of mentality because when you playing, you getting taped or, you know what I mean, you getting ready to go out there and play a physical game. But as a coach, basically you're doing the same thing, but you ain't going out there to play. So it's a little bit different, and you can kind of understand where some of the players is coming from. Because I remember being on teams where you got guys would spit up before a game. You know what I mean? Like other guys have their little rituals. So it was a different experience, but it's all in part of, playing ball and then retiring and then moving on to coaching and things like that.
College football season opening up here this week. Mountaineers have a game at a neutral site down in Charlotte against Tennessee. What do you think the season looks like for the Mountaineers, and what can we expect, do you think?
I think we probably going to have one of the hottest tickets in America as far as a college football game. Anytime you got a quarterback and a wide receiver coming back and All-American, that's huge. I really feel if the defense can show up, I think we can run the table.
Think it's got that type of potential for the season here?
One thing that get lost in all this, anytime you got a quarterback they consider All-American, it builds confidence in the younger dudes because basically what it's saying is we got one of the best players in the country on our team. So as a young guy, when you see that ain't going to do nothing but build confidence in you.
Well, we'll hope you're right. It'd be great to see 30 years later another undefeated team, and maybe the Mountaineers can make a big run this year. We'll see what happens. Tennessee this week. Prediction for the game?
Yeah, I think 45-20, West Virginia.
That'd be nice to see. Major, I really appreciate you being here on the show. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Before I let you go, though, I want to tell you something, all right? In 1988, I was in 8th grade. I was 13. I'm 43 now. For some reason, I didn't keep much from my childhood, okay? but I did keep this for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it's been in my closet all those years. I still have a Major Harris jersey, so I can't let you get out of here without signing it because I never got an autograph. So if you wouldn't mind, I brought a pen, and if you could sign it there, that'd be fantastic.
Okay,
Wherever you want. How about right across the 9? It'd be fantastic. Thanks so much. I'll treasure having that sign. I'll put it in my trophy case. I appreciate it. Hey, good luck to you in all that you do, and appreciate being on the show.
Hey, thank you.
We need to take a break. When we come back, I'll be giving you the rest of my college football preview. Stay with us here on the Jamie Bordas Show.
You earned it. Let us help you save it. Belmont Savings Bank. Focused on your future.
So, how was your first day?
Long. So, Josh asked me about you.
Daddy's home. Go get him.
For your home, for your life, for more than 50 years. The Hardwood Specialists. DeNoon Lumber.
Welcome back to the show. It's time for the rest of my college football preview. Tough to top Major Harris, but we're going to talk about the 2018 football season. And we'll start off here talking locally. Let's talk about the Mountaineers. You know, preseason, number 17 ranking in the AP poll. The Big 12 schedule is kind of backloaded. The big games are in November. TCU and Oklahoma at home, Oklahoma State and Texas on the road, all in November. So a chance to build some momentum throughout the season before getting to those, tougher games in the Big 12, but a much tougher non-conference schedule than perhaps normal. With, two of the Power 5 conference teams on the schedule, big game against Tennessee in the opener down in Charlotte. Have to go to NC State in Game 3. Youngstown State sandwiched in between, should be a little bit of a breather, hopefully. But, the offense has some real playmakers, as Major Harris was alluding to. Will Greer at quarterback, David Sills at receiver. Guys coming back that are, Sills was a Bolitnikoff finalist last year as one of the top receivers in the country. Will Greer, preseason All-American quarterback. Kennedy McCoy has looked good at running back, last year. The big question is going to be the defense, and can we stop anybody? And the question is, these transfers, what are they going to do? On the defensive line, 2 transfers: Kenny Bigelow from USC, Jabril Robinson from Clemson, and guys that kind of got caught in a numbers game at those schools. I mean, Clemson has a defensive line that every one of them is projected to be a first-round NFL draft pick. So you've got a guy like Jabril Robinson, who a fantastic player, but stuck behind a bunch of first-round NFL guys. So now he comes to Morgantown with a chance to really make an impact right away, along with Kenny Bigelow, who transferred in from USC. I think that'll be big. And, the veterans at linebacker, like David Long in the secondary, Drayvon Askew Henry back. You look at that, so the big question I think to look at this week against Tennessee will be, can the Mountaineers get a consistent pass rush, and can they get off the field on third down? If they can do those things, then I think it'll be a great sign for a big season. I think they need to show that by holding Tennessee to 24 points or less. I like the Mountaineers, pretty similar score to what Major picked. I'm going to go 41-24 Mountaineers in this one, and I think it'll springboard them to a great season. I like the Mountaineers to finish 11-1 and play in the Big 12 championship game this year. I think a big season ahead for the Mountaineers if they can stay healthy. Let's talk Ohio State on the other side of the river. Preseason number 5, but of course we'll open this season without head coach Urban Meyer, who's been suspended for the first 3 football games. He'll be allowed to rejoin the team for practices after the first game, but will not be allowed to coach any of the first 3 games. They're not playing cupcakes in these first 3 games. They're facing Oregon State in the opener, then Rutgers, then TCU, who's ranked number 16th in the country, all Power 5 conference schools. Sometimes you see Ohio State open up with some Division I AA schools or things of that nature, just not the case this year. Ohio State will also have Penn State and Michigan State this year. I think with the distractions of the whole Urban Meyer story, just a little bit too much for Ohio State to overcome this year, despite the talent they have. Going to have a new player at quarterback. That you always don't know how that's going to affect things. I think Ohio State finishes at 10-2. I do think they may, be able to sneak their way into the Big Ten championship game, but I think 10-2 is going to be it for the Buckeyes, and maybe a little bit of a disappointing season for what some of their fans have been hoping for. Let's turn to Notre Dame, my alma mater. I always like to talk about them. Big following here in the local area. Preseason number 12 in the country. Play 5 teams in the preseason top 25. Tough schedule. Brandon Wimbush, the quarterback, benched in the bowl game against LSU in favor of Ian Book, who came on to lead the team to a win against LSU, but now has regained the starting job here in the preseason. Be interested to see how he rebounds from getting benched in that game. They say his throwing looks a lot better. He's worked on it in the offseason, but a big opener against number 14 Michigan in a night game in South Bend. Michigan has the transfer quarterback, graduate transfer, Shea Patterson, who came in from Ole Miss. And, this shapes up to be a primetime big game. The Irish also get Stanford and Florida State at home this year with road matches against ranked teams Virginia Tech and USC. New defensive coordinator, new offensive line coaches have me concerned. Both left for other jobs. Defensive coordinator headed to Texas A&M to join Jimbo Fisher and his staff down there. Offensive line coach Harry Hiestand went to the Chicago Bears. Those were strengths last year, but I think if the Irish can get past Michigan, which I think they will, I like their chances the rest of the way. So I think the Irish 11-1 as well, just like the Mountaineers. So I think could be a really, really big season for some of the local followings. Mountaineers 11-1, Notre Dame I've got at 11-1, Ohio State at 10-2, and I'd maybe have them higher if not for some of the distractions they'll probably have to undergo. So that's kind of how I think it shapes up with some of the teams that some of the local folks follow. We need to take a break. When we come back, I'll talk about the teams that I think will make it into the college football playoff this year, and we'll set up this weekend's games for you. Stay with us on the Jamie Bordas Show. People in nursing homes are some of the most vulnerable members of our society. They're there because they can't take care of themselves. Those facilities have a duty to take care of our loved ones, and when they don't, it's important they're held accountable. We've not only collected record results against negligent nursing homes, but more importantly, we've helped so many families get the answers and closure they so badly needed.
Bordas and Bordas, fighting for justice. Disasters happen. Pick the team that takes care of them all. Powered by offices in Wheeling, Morgantown, and Pittsburgh, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration is ready to handle any size emergency at a moment's notice. We have the right people, knowledge, and equipment to respond 24 hours a day.
I'm Dana Hogerson. When disaster strikes your home or business, tell your insurance provider you prefer the restoration company the Mountaineers call, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration.
Welcome back to the show. Now it's time to talk about my predictions for the college football playoff this year, and then we'll set you up for this weekend's games. First of all, the playoff. I got to go with Alabama until somebody proves otherwise. I mean, Alabama has a dynasty basically going. Nick Saban, what he's done there with that program has been remarkable. A little bit of a quarterback situation there. Jalen Hurts started the last 2 years but was benched in the national championship game in favor of Tua Tagovailoa. And, they've been battling all preseason. Starter hasn't been named yet. Hard to sit the kid down. As good of a passer as he looked like he was in the championship game. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe they'll both play, but I like Alabama's chances. I like Clemson. They've been, getting it done the last couple of years. There's a quarterback battle there as well. Kelly Bryant, the senior, being challenged by Trevor Lawrence, freshman who's been a highly touted recruit. It sounds like Bryant's going to get the starting nod, but they got the best defensive line in the country, hands down, and that's why I like them so much, as well as their easy schedule. They've got one preseason top 25 team on the schedule. That's Florida State, who's number 19, and they get them at home. There is no room for error for Clemson because of that easy schedule. They need to watch out week 2. They go to Texas A&M. That's one that could jump up and bite them, even though the Aggies are kind of rebuilding. Watch out for Texas A&M Clemson in week 2. My third pick for the college football playoff, I'm going to go with the Mountaineers. I think this is the year the Mountaineers make some big noise. They're might trip up somewhere along the way, so I think maybe 11-1, but they'll get into the Big 12 championship game. I think they'll pull it out there. I think Will Greer is going to have a huge year and get the Mountaineers into the college football playoff for the first time and really fighting for the title for the first time in decades. And my last pick, all right, maybe a little bit with my heart instead of my head, but I'm going to go with Notre Dame. I did it last year. I'm going to do it again this year. They faded down the stretch a little bit last year. They have all kind of talent and speed. A couple more NFL-ready linemen. They lost 2 last year that were first-round picks, but some more guys that are ready. The defense is experienced. Maybe 3 quarterbacks that would all be capable of playing at some schools. Brian Kelly, more wins than any active coach in college football. I think 11-1, and with the schedule that Notre Dame has, 5 preseason top 25 teams, I think that'll be enough to get them into the playoff. So that'll be my 4th playoff team. I think the Pac-12 gets left out. Too much chaos out there every year. And I think the Big Ten, I think Wisconsin has the best path, but I think they get knocked off in that Big Ten championship game. Ohio State may have the most talent, but just too many distractions, as I said earlier. So let's set up your opening weekend this weekend. First of all, on Saturday at noon, Ohio State does open up against Oregon State right here on WTRF on ABC. I like the Buckeyes in that one. I think they're going to go out fired up because of all these distractions, at least get the big win in game 1. I think Ohio State by 3 touchdowns in this one. And then also 3:30 on ABC right here on WTRF. Number 6 Washington versus number 9 Auburn. 2 top 10 teams right to get out of the gate. That's in Atlanta. Neutral site kind of, but Auburn's going to have a ton of fans there. Because of that, I like Auburn in that one. Playing in the Deep South, I'll take Auburn by 4. WV versus Tennessee, 3:30 right here on WTRF on CBS. I like the Mountaineers by 17 in this one, as I said earlier. And then Notre Dame versus Michigan, 7:30 NBC. Always a close game between Notre Dame and Michigan. In South Bend, night game. I like the Irish. I'll go with Notre Dame by 3. A Sunday game, a little bit unusual to have a Sunday game, but always kind of a tradition on the opening weekend when there's no NFL football. Number 8 Miami versus number 25 LSU at 7:30 right here on WTRF on ABC. Hurricanes had a big season last year. LSU been hit and miss. I already alluded to earlier, Notre Dame knocked them off in the bowl game last year. LSU probably have more fans there at Cowboys Stadium, not too far to make the trek from Baton Rouge to Dallas. But I like Miami's speed, their firepower. I think that program's getting its swagger back. I'll go with the Hurricanes by 7 in that one. And then Monday night, another top 20 matchup. Number 20 Virginia Tech at number 19 Florida State. Despite the new coach in Tallahassee, which is always tough your first game out, it is just a tough place to play. When those fans get that tomahawk chop going and it's a night game, it's just a tough place to win. And it's a rivalry between those teams now in recent years. I'll take Florida State by 4 points in a very close one, so I'll go with the Seminoles there. That's about all the time we have this week. I hope you enjoy the kickoff to the college football weekend. Next week, we'll be talking all about the NFL here on the show. Have a great week. Enjoy the kickoff. We'll see you next time on the Jamie Bordas Show.